and a very warm welcome to Gaming News Weekly, your weekly news show every Friday at 5 p.m. with your hosts, me, I'm Rich, and my good friend Tabs. Say hello, Tabs.
Hello, Tabs.
Not funny. What have we got this week? We've got 3 media stories, I would say, medium stories, not juicy ones, but then some interesting bits in everything else. But before we dive into the first story this week, let's start as we do every week about which games we've not been playing this week. So, Tabs, which games have you not been playing this week?
Well, I've actually got something to write home about. Still playing Pro Evolution Soccer. I'm sorry to bore everybody to death with it. I won't talk much on that. It's just a nice game to play in the weekdays on my lunch break, you know, just to kind of float in nothingness and not focus too much on anything. But apart from that, I have touched base on Skyward Sword. I'm in the Earth Temple now. I remember that the last time I signed off. Just pushing it along very, very slowly, kind of doing like one task at a time almost. And still hasn't compelled the type of rush you get from playing Breath of the Wild, and you feel compelled to play it, drawn towards it. It consumes your waking hours. Skyward Sword it's not doing that for me yet. Whether it will get under my skin a bit more, I think it probably will. And it's still fun to play, and you know it's got those lovely Nintendo-ish kind of puzzles and kind of sandbox elements to it. But yeah, it is a struggle, but one I'm going to keep pressing on with, at least until Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut arrives. I don't know, maybe and maybe a few more games on the horizons. 12 minutes I'm considering. There's something else out as well? I've forgotten now, but yeah, there's plenty going on. Something out next week, mate. I feel like it's out next Wednesday. Can you remember anything?
Can't think. Don't know.
No. But what about you, mate? What have you not been playing this week?
Yeah, I mean, a pretty quiet week for me again. I actually did play a game of Pro Evo with you, didn't I? We had a little blast with your superstar team and scored about 50 goals, which was crazy different to how when we were playing our Master League. So I did that this week. And then, yeah, I'm just super excited for the director's cut of Ghost of Tsushima. I loved that game. Literally installed it back literally before we started filming, ready to get cracking on it, get back into it. I'm really, really looking forward to that. Hearing good things as well, like maybe 5 to 10 hours worth of story gameplay, plus maybe a few hours to mop everything up if you're a completionist. Really like it.
Gillett recommends it. Always a good sign, in my opinion. IGN
gave it 8, which I thought was pretty good going. And also it's $15.99 as an upgrade. So I thought that was a decent uplift for $15.99. So that's what I'm definitely going to be playing. I don't know, possibly come the stroke of midnight tonight. We'll see. Anyway, after that, let's get into the first story. And first up this week, we have got Pokemon stuff. Interesting. Let's get into it.
Best headline ever.
And this comes from Eurogamer. The Pokemon Company broadcast its Pokemon Presents show this afternoon. Here's everything announced and revealed. First up, Pokemon Unite comes out on mobile devices on the 22nd of September alongside crossplay with Nintendo's Switch version. Free-to-play puzzle game Pokemon Cafe Mix is set for a revamp and will soon be called Pokemon Cafe Remix. This revamp brings refreshed puzzles with new elements, new Pokemon and dress-up options. The revamp goes live in the autumn. On the 20th of August, Pokemon Go gets Pokemon's first discovered in the Gala region as part of the last big summer event. What else have we got? The Pokemon Company showed off a fresh look at Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, both of which are due out on the 19th of November on Nintendo Switch. But perhaps the biggest draw of the show was the fresh look at Pokemon Legends Arceus, okay. The open world Sinnoh game set in a more feudal version of the region. That's out in Nintendo Switch on the 28th of January 2022. And finally, Pokemon Company confirmed Pokemon Home support for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and Pokemon Legends Arceus in 2022. Apologies about
Don't say Arceus. When you're a Brit, that sounds funny.
Apologies for the mispronunciation. So yeah, I think I haven't seen everything on this. I didn't see the actual show. I've watched the trailers that were dropped in this show sort of on their own independently. I don't know. Tabs actually watched this, so we'll get his take in a moment. But I was left quite flat from this. None of the games really super inspired me. And I think certainly the trouble with the Pokemon Arceus is it just looks like a poor man's version of Breath of the Wild with Pokemon. That's the big problem with it for me. And when you watch the trailer of it, you get that impression. You're like, yeah, that's fine, but 4 years ago we got one of the best games of all time and it looked better than this. So and I don't know, it just looks a little bit old hat for a game that's going to be coming out in 2022. But over to the Maestro for his thoughts. Go.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody who is a massive fan of the franchise, loved the original games, I probably owned the first, 4 or 5 games, and then it slowly just started to fade for me. The biggest things for this particular presentation were brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and then, of course, Pokemon Legends Arceus. So, yeah, Diamond and Pearl first. It looks cool, the graphics are nice. It's presented tidily. It looks quite polished, not too far away from almost like Link's Awakening sort of style of art / Animal Crossing. And it looks really nice. And they've also added some other features and functions to it just to kind of give the experience more depth. It feels like they've leaned a little bit into kind of an Animal Crossing territory with that, maybe to benefit from that audience on the Switch. Who knows? And how that will go down. I mean, it didn't really entice me, kind of filling up rooms with statues of Pokemon and things like that. That was one of the features. But yeah, that looks interesting. Again, whether it's something I would buy, I'd wait for a review. If it got 9 out of 10, it said it was like one of the best Pokemon games ever, I probably would. Anything else, and I probably won't bother. And then we'll come on to Pokemon Legends Arceus. So yeah, very much what you said, Rich. I think Jeff Grubb said on Twitter something like, this looks like a Pokemon game that somebody made in dreams. Yeah. Because they're clearly going for this Breath of the Wild style and design and the open world elements. And they've obviously had a lot of criticism on the last attempt at that, not being up to scratch, not being of the right quality. And they're trying to answer it. But undoubtedly, mate, the feed we saw, whether it was the feed or not, but the frame rate looked really choppy. It still feels like really unfinished to me. Like certain animations are just really janky, I suppose I would say. Textures are a little bit rough. It just feels like we're getting a snapshot into a game that's, I would say, a year into a development cycle that really should take 3 or 4 years before it's, in that final form. And I think we talked a bit on WhatsApp this week that it feels like the Pokemon Company are constantly hamstrung by their own, incessant annual updates, refreshes, deadlines. They don't take that time over the games anymore. And obviously, even more so when you jump from more simple design games like top-down isometrics or 2D, obviously back on the Game Boy, sprites, and you jump to 3D open world, they demand more time, more resource, more consideration to really get the best from them. And instead, we're just getting this kind of sausage machine of, crappy sausages churned out year in, year out that just, for me, it's not killer app material. If you're a diehard Pokemon fan and you love that stuff, great. I'm glad for you. But as a fan of the series who wants to see it really, create a big ripple in the pond again, it just doesn't feel like this is going to do the job either, to be honest.
I think the big problem for me we'll just talk about the look here, because obviously we've not played the game and it doesn't look like it's bringing anything groundbreaking to the series, but it doesn't look as good as Breath of the Wild. And the style they've gone for, if they can't attain Breath of the Wild quality, then I'd rather they went for a more fully cel-shaded, like Wind Waker, for instance, which looked fantastic, even though it was a cel-shaded type graphical element. I'd rather they did that. I don't. Why do go to this sort of halfway house that's neither hits the mark or you can let it off because of the style they've gone for? It just reeks of as you say, under development. That's what it absolutely looks like.
Undercooked, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's so strange, isn't it, mate? Because we know the Pokemon companies stand distinct from Nintendo, but they're obviously still, I don't know what, if this is some kind of like shares ownership that Nintendo own majority or something, but it's so apart from Nintendo's philosophy on games design, which is to take that extra time with a game, leave it in the oven to cook, to make a really good experience and hit those quality kind of KPIs, if you like, they set themselves. It's just such a strange thing. And also, you know, Nintendo could have just basically gifted them the Breath of the Wild engine, surely, to say, here's a head start, use this, it's great, you'll get good results. And it just feels like, but yeah, for me as a big fan of Pokemon, I'd love to see the Pokemon company kind of become be overseen a bit more by Nintendo again and return to those sort of philosophies, because I feel like they're moving away from it, and the series is losing a lot of its what's the word? Its vitality because of that.
Absolutely.
But that's me, mate. That's me. Let us know, BArcadians, if you've got any opinions there in the comments. We'd love to hear them and talk Pokemon with you. Absolutely.
Sotaps takes on for the second story of this week's Game News Weekly.
Right, yeah, I think we've all probably got sick of this one, but we'll update you on it. We've been covering it in recent weeks. Headline reads, The Abandoned Saga. So, article courtesy of GameSpot, and then we'll share our thoughts. But here we go. Blue Box Game Studios is looking to put the minds of gamers at ease by offering up a free copy of the studio's upcoming PlayStation 5 game Abandoned to those who purchased an unfinished early access version of the studio's previous game, The Haunting Bloodwater Curse. The news, via an IGN interview with Blue Box head Hassan Karaman, comes in the wake of the studio releasing a real-time experience app for PS5 that didn't go exactly as planned. When the highly anticipated trailer, after multiple delays, didn't actually turn out to be a trailer at all, but instead just a GIF of a man walking that had already been shared on Twitter, skeptical players began to renew their investigations into Blue Box's history. What they found, as illustrated by Reddit user Tic Tac Paul, is a history of cancelled and unfinished games dating back to 2015, with multiple cancelled Kickstarter projects and games pulled from sale while still in early access and seemingly abandoned. Blah blah blah. That's the case for The Haunting, Blue Box's most recent game, which released last year in early access. The game was later pulled from sale, with Blue Box announcing a different unknown indie studio called Create Q will be taking over development, Karaman says. Create Q is a 4-man team composed of friends of Blue Box who are working on The Haunting as a side project. Karaman says that those who purchased the early access version of The Haunting originally will soon be able to fill out a form and provide proof of purchase on the Blue Box website to receive a free copy of Abandoned. When asked about offering refunds for The Haunting, Karaman says the team would work on it should there be a demand. Finally, Karaman goes on to say the current plan is to release The Haunting for free upon its completion on PlayStation, Steam and Xbox, along with the first gameplay trailer for Abandoned. That will happen in a few months, according to Karaman. So, it just gets more complicated. I mean, for me, mate, I've lost all faith in this game, in this studio. You know, I mean, them saying there that it's now going to be months until we see the first trailer for Abandoned, following this, you know, this tiny little blink of a trailer that they've released on the app. I don't think it's Kojima anymore. Absolutely not. I don't think Sony are involved and it's secretly Silent Hill. I think this is an indie developer whose, well, their leadership is obviously making an absolute pig's ear of marketing and this whole project. And yeah, I'm ready to wash my hands with it, mate. But what are your thoughts?
Mark, I'll be honest, I was really excited. I messaged you, said, it's gone live, downloaded it, super disappointed. Like, I'd already seen that like clip that we got, the GIF. I'd already seen that on Twitter because I was following their Twitter feed to see when it would drop, and I'd already seen that. Super disappointed. I'll be honest, at this point, mate, I just think it's a scam. I think it's a complete scam. It's all made up to get clicks, to get people over there, get people to download it, to create buzz, and then they'll just change it into something else. It seems like that's a pattern with all their games. They create this buzz. And what they've figured out is this game is so unknown that they can just like pull on little strings of what people in the games, you know, who are interested in games in the game industry, what they want. Oh, they want Silent Hill. Oh, they want MGS. Oh, they want Kojima to be involved. Oh, we'll just drop all these little hints to make people think that's what it is, even though it has nothing to do with any of it.
There was an interview, mate. There was an interview with NME, I don't know if it was this week or last, where apparently they actually shared some more details about the game. And they talked about it very much leaning into the survival mechanics, like, you know, as you run and stuff and you breathe heavier, it's harder to do things. You know, they very much linked it, almost sounded a bit like Death Stranding in terms of those real, a lot of pushback on the way gamers play based on survival and simulation elements. So, you know, that was obviously an attempt to reach out and give gamers, give people who are spectating on this mess, you know, more of a real impression of it, that this is a real thing and it is going to happen. But you're absolutely right. They're doing themselves no favors. And until we actually see some action now and we see some actual substance, I'm just going to switch off from it because it's a waste of headspace.
Agreed. Completely agreed. Oh,
but yeah, Arcadians, you know, let us know your thoughts. I know this has taken up a lot of people's time in the last few weeks or so, trying to pick apart this conspiracy. It's really disappointing, and I do feel bad for the studio, mate, because you know, if we do end up seeing something, we do take them on there, read it, take it as read, that they are genuine, they are trying to create a gaming experience. I mean, it's going very wrong, isn't it? You know, this is like CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077 standards of wrong. So yeah, we'll have to see. But excellent. Mate, take us away onto the next, because I want to stop talking about it.
Anyway, on to the third topic of this week, and I know Tabs is very, very excited about this. And to be fair, before we get into this, I need to eat some humble pie because I didn't think this was going to happen ever. So, GTA Trilogy update, and this comes from Comic Book. According to a recent report, GTA San Andreas, GTA Vice City, and GTA 3 are being remastered, remade for the modern consoles, and will be re-released this year as one package under the name GTA Trilogy. The report, which can be seen here on this article, dives into some of the finer details of the re-releases, and according to a prominent Grand Theft Auto insider and leaker, it's all accurate except one detail. Taking to Twitter, industry insider and leaker, best known for his scoops on Call of Duty, Battlefield and Grand Theft Auto, claims the report is accurate except for where it states all of this will come out this year.
Cry.
I wasn't going to mention the GTA Remastered Trilogy because everything I've heard has been covered. The only difference is that I don't believe the launch time frame is correct, said Henderson. Adding to this, Henderson claims that rather than releasing in 2021, like the aforementioned report claims, the trio of re-releases is set to release sometime in 2022. Unfortunately, Henderson doesn't provide a window more specific than 2022. 2022 could be referring to a release that's 6 months away or a release that's more than a whole year away. Whatever the case, it's going to be longer than many are currently expecting if Henderson is right. If the trio of re-releases isn't releasing this year, there's a chance it won't be released
revealed
this year either. However, in October, GTA 3 will celebrate its 20th year anniversary, so that could be an opportune time for Rockstar Games to pull the trigger. In fact, the anniversary is 11 days after the re-release of GTA 5 on PS5 and Xbox Series X, so it's great timing for Rockstar Games as the reveal won't take away from the first week sales of these versions of GTA 5. So that probably means almost certainly that we're going to see this coming to Switch, which I know Tabs has for about 100 years been lording over the fact that he's sure we're going to see a Grand Theft Auto coming to the Switch. Obviously that's unconfirmed, but I think the fact that they're going to re-release these probably suggests it is going to come to the Switch. But super excited. I mean, 3 brilliant games of their all brilliant in their own way, so really excited to replay them. Would I rather that they released something to do with GTA 6 rather than these re-releases? Possibly, But is this going to tide us over until we see that? Potentially. Tabs.
Yeah, it's great news, isn't it, mate? You know, we've been moaning in recent weeks on the news about Rockstar's really glacial pipeline of work, and this comes at the perfect time. So, yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it this year, but I don't mind waiting for 2022, especially if we do get a reveal, perhaps this year, just to give us that little tease and taster. I can't believe it's been 20 years, mate. You know, what am I saying? 35 now. So yeah, it would have been when we were 15, mate. I rang you and talked excitedly about GTA 3 and how good it was, and yeah, amazing. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see as well that there's a lot of kind of conjecture about, are these going to be remade in the Unreal Engine?
Oh,
or are these going to be, I think that from what we're hearing, it's Rockstar Dundee that apparently are in charge of these, you know, these remasters or remakes. It's hard to say at the minute. And essentially they've got a lot of experience with the Unreal Engine, I think, was what I've read. The problem is that's then split the fan base, because some fans have actually put a few kind of concept art out there as to what, say, like Tommy Vercetti could look like. In this, you know, if it was remade almost from the ground up, and it was a lot more, you know, the fidelity was cranked up to 11. And some of the, you know, the fan base are like, no, I don't want to see that. You know, they want that kind of blocky, charming nature to the graphics of old. And to be honest, I think I'm on that side of things. There was a video shared this week of like some amateurs kind of impression of what it could look like, and it did look like the kind of the blocky character design, but like juiced up with some really nice lighting and better textures, and some of the bells and whistles of modern technology offers.
Is this the one you sent me?
Yeah, that's the one, mate. Did you see it?
I thought that looked terrible.
No, I thought that really looked good.
The character models look weird, like out of proportion and all sorts. Like they all look like Desperate Dan. Why did they all look like Desperate Dan? It was weird.
Well, because they were all chunky and blocky models back then, weren't they? It was PS1, wasn't it? PS1. Was it PS1 or PS2? No, it was PS2.
Mate. I was going to say PS1, mate. Jesus, it melts. It's a meltdown.
No, excuse me. PS2. So yeah, I mean, I would personally like to see, this kind of like, just the old graphics just reinvigorated with a few more kind of effects and embellishments, rather than a, built from the ground up remake, almost a bit like, Resident Evil 2, mate, where every asset is changed and different and refreshed, and it's almost a different game.
I think what I would like to see is, and I thought this was done really well in the release and re-release of Command & Conquer, where they gave it HD graphics, which looked brilliant, but you could flick between the old graphics and the new updated graphics. So you could play it in the new way, or you could play it in the old way and have that true nostalgia. I think that would be a good idea for this series, because there are people that genuinely really love the look of those games. That was half of the appeal of it.
Exactly, yeah. No, that could work as well. I'd happily see that. I mean, what I'd love as well, mate, if they can somehow get some multiplayer modes in there. We talked about this when we saw each other on the weekend, but I'm just imagining playing Switch and going on a rampage around the cities together, via online or local multiplayer. I'd love to see something like that. And we mentioned on the weekend as well, of course, we know Rockstar adores the online model. So is there a potential chance of that? Because, they can monetize it and make money out of it on an ongoing basis. But yeah, either way, mate, fantastic news. Kind of we're a bit late to the show because this actually came out, I think, just after we filmed last week.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
So kind of an old news story with a little update. But, I couldn't miss shouting about it, sharing our excitement and enthusiasm for it. And BArcadians, equally, let us know yours. I can talk about this for days in the comments. But Rich, should we start to round this week's episode off with everything else?
Absolutely, let's get into it. First story this week, rumoured Quake remaster gets an ESRB rating, so that's pretty much nailed on that that's a thing.
Yeah, I think that got slipped from QuakeCon, wasn't it? Day before or something like that. Ghost of Tsushima, Iki Island, has shrines dedicated to God of War, Bloodborne, and Shadow of the Colossus. I didn't know that, mate.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Really cool. Looking forward to seeing that.
I love a reference.
Absolutely. And finally this week we've got Valheim Hearth and Home trailer highlights changes to blocking and a new stagger meter. So changes coming for anyone playing Valheim. So that brings us to the close this week on the news. We hope you've enjoyed what we've done this week. If you have, do remember to give it a thumbs up down below because it really helps feed into the algorithms. If you're new here and you've enjoyed watching us, don't forget to subscribe because we're here every week, Friday at 5 p.m. And I think that's it for this week. Another one for the archive.
Stamped and completed.